Welcome back, baby, to the Northern Steel Podcast. I am your host, Dominic Paskowski. With me is my brother, Chris, with the same last name. It's long, it's Polish, get used to it. We're here to talk about Steelers. Right, Chris?
Heck yeah, we are. Every week, every day, every part of my life.
7 to 8 Central, whatever that means. So let's talk about the Steelers. But first, I'm going to talk about the NFL news really quickly because we have a big, giant episode with linebackers, which we're also going to skim super quickly. That will be the draft profiles we're going to go over as middle linebackers. But quick, some NFL news, Steeler news especially. The Steelers signed Armon Watt, defensive tackle from the Vikings, I believe. He also played for the Bears. He is okay. Death Beast. Is there much else to say about him?
It's depth. It's depth. That's what it is.
Then there's the Steelers released Jameer Jones. Not really sure why. We thought at first maybe because, hey, they're going to sign Bud Dupree. But like the smart people of Alex Kozora and Nick Farabah on Twitter pointed out, that wasn't a salary cap move. That wasn't a roster move because we have enough space to sign Bud Dupree anyways. It's just kind of weird. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe we'll find the news on that later. But Jameer Jones cut. NFL news. The Ravens signed Odell Beckham Jr. to a disgustingly high 1-year, $18 million contract.
That is so gross.
Do you care, Chris?
No, I don't. Lamar Jackson can't throw anyway, and plus they're just spending $18 million on this guy. Like, do they not have or care about their cap situation? I'm sure. Go for it.
It's very clear they're using this to entice Lamar back to playing it with the Ravens, back to signing with the Ravens. But again, like you just said, I'm not worried about this either. I'm not worried about Lamar's throwing the ball or their weapons. I'm worried about his legs and running. Also, he throws the ball to Mark Andrews anyways, so I don't really care. Other slight NFL news is the Jeff Okudah from the Lions, number 3 overall pick in the 2020 draft, cornerback, wanted to be traded. People are thinking, what kind of high draft pick do we have to trade to get a guy like that? Let me tell you, Chris, you have to give up a super valuable 5th round pick, is what the Falcons did to get Jeff Okudah on their team.
Wow, a whole 5th, huh?
An entire 5th round pick, a pick that we do not have. But I would have liked to do Jeff Okudah anyways. That'd been nice, but we're probably going to draft a cornerback, so maybe that's the thought process there. But I definitely would have got that guy for a 5th. I saw some fans being like, like some Twitter pages being like, I can't believe we couldn't trade a 4th for him. And people are like, well, there's going to be way better guys we're going to get in the first round. Yeah. That's the point. We're going to trade a 4th. That's the difference. We're going to get like that in the 4th.
And also, maybe the 5th round makes a lot of sense. I know he came out as a stud from college, but looking at his productivity in the last 3 years that he's been in the league, he's been very injury prone. I mean, he hasn't played in a full season other than last year was his first full season. And I mean, production-wise, we're looking at like 1 pick, 7 pass deflections. It's not really like jumping off the charts as far as a first-round pick. So when I'm thinking about trade value, I'm like, maybe that makes a lot more sense that he's a 5th-round guy.
Yeah. And I would have done it, for sure. But we don't have the picks for it. Also, other NFL rumors we can talk about just briefly. There's a rumor that the Steelers are trying to trade up to the number 9 spot with the Chicago Bears in the draft. What say you, Chris?
Boo, I hate it. I don't want that. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, yo, we're going to fleece the Bears again. They'll never see it coming. I'm like, I don't know if I get too attached to picks that I know absolutely nothing about. But like, I just want to use our draft capital. I want to get guys who I feel like we need to get. And I just don't know if trading away some picks for the 9 is really worth it.
I agree. We have a lot of needs that we need. If we do trip to the 9, I can tell you right now, I guarantee you it'll be a tackle, most likely Paris Johnson Jr. But maybe, maybe we trade something. Maybe when they say we'll fleece the Bears, we'll trade them pick number 49 and Chase Claypool back. I'm just kidding. I don't want Claypool back. Pick 49 and Jaquan Brisker. We get back. I'll take Brisker.
I would take it. I'll take
what?
I can feel the garage opening. And also kind of called me.
Why'd you hold your pulse to feel that?
Well, cause
hello.
Nothing. Continue, please.
Okay.
Well, because I was like, I got a call, and then all of a sudden I felt the garage opening, and I was like, what's happening right now? So we're good.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to ask you why you felt your pulse when you did that.
Well, because I felt something at first. I didn't know it was the garage, so I was like processing.
Is that where you feel it? You go right to your pulse and you feel something?
Did I do that?
Yes. Right.
As
soon as you felt something, you went like this.
It's the thought of my wife. I'm like,
I guess. Never know when a heart attack could hit you around the corner, I suppose. Anyways, let's get into the NFL draft profiles. Middle linebackers. Steelers signed Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts, and that is our middle linebacker group. If you want to also count Mark Robinson, I suppose.
Mark Robinson.
But that is it.
Yeah.
We got 3 middle linebackers. That is all we got. So I think, personally, the Steelers need to draft somebody. And this year's class isn't really that great. And I think there's more pressing needs that we have. But you never know what the Steelers could do. Maybe they draft one a little bit higher. So we're going to kind of go through a wide range of where guys could be picked up in the draft. And usually we go over 6, 3 each. But because there's so many guys that the Steelers have actually shown interest in, we're going to do 8. But don't you worry your pretty little head. Don't worry about your exhausted, tired ears from listening to us ramble. We're going to go quick, baby. We're not going to give you the ins and outs of every players. I'm just going to give you the nitty-gritty, the raw and dirty opinion of each player, I think.
Absolutely. And Dom, I mean, just before we get into it too, I also want to say, as far as guessing where we could pick up a linebacker, where do you feel like would be a realistic gap range for these guys? Or where do you think the Steelers could get a linebacker?
As high at, well, here's what I would like. Not about realistic, because the Steelers could do something really weird. The Steelers could pick one at 32, and I'd be kind of pissed. But ideally, it could be as high as pick 49, and it could be as low as 120.
That's kind of my thought as well. I feel like if they're feeling really good about a guy, maybe that 32. I don't want it, but yeah, I'm kind of hoping for that 49 to 120 range is where we're looking for a lot of these guys. So anyway, I don't mean to interrupt. Go on, say what you got to say, my brother.
First up on the totem pole is widely regarded as the best linebacker in the draft, Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. Now, Drew Sanders, let me pull the stats for you, baby. Drew Sanders had 103 tackles last year, 40 solo, 63 assists, 9.5 sacks. Golly, as a middle linebacker. 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble return, and 1 interception. 5 pass defenses. Here's the thing, and those stats will show you that with almost 10 sacks and 5 pass deflects and a pick. I think he's just all around good. He has great awareness. He's got great pursuit. He knows exactly what holes to hit. He's a downhill linebacker. He can watch the plays develop. Here's where he's going to get a pick, I think, right here. No, he's not. He's going to pursuit and chase the quarterback and get on him, get Bryce Young down on the ground. I just think he's smart, man, and he's got the speed to back it up. I think the last year was his first year actually starting, because in previous years he only had 24 tackles and then 9 tackles. So he could be considered raw potentially, but with this kind of talent as a raw linebacker, I mean, what's not to like? He's 6'5", 232 pounds. Good God Almighty! What else is he? Oh, he's 32 inch, 9 3/4 hands. Production score, he's got 86, first in the combine. Athleticism score, 73, 12th. Total score, 82, second in the combine. His comparison, NFL comparison, is Tremaine Edmonds. You know, the guy that you wanted, Steeler fans? That's this guy, except this guy is white, not Tremaine Edmonds. He's basically what I think about Drew Sanders is if you were actually going to get him, I think you'd have to do pick 32. I don't think he'll be there at pick 49, but I think he's all around solid. He's somebody you could easily take over a Landon Roberts spot or call it, depending on who's doing bad. I think he could fit right in quickly. He could kind of do it all. He's just an all-around jackknife of a player. I think he's very, very good, and some teams are going to be very lucky to get him. It's probably not going to be us, to be honest.
Mm.
Moving on to the next. Oh, yeah. Give me your thoughts, please. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, Drew Sanders was actually my favorite linebacker prospect coming into this draft. I followed him all the way from the beginning of the college season, and just someone who's really just opened my eyes to this class big time. He was a 5-star recruit, went to Alabama, then transferred over to Arkansas, where he really made a name for himself. Ultimately, I think whoever gets him is going to be an absolute stud.
Up next is Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson has a very good chance of being drafted by the Steelers because he met them at the combine. He went out to dinner with the Steelers. The only linebacker they've taken out to dinner. They've wined and dined with chicken wings or whatever Mike Tomlin likes to do. And it makes sense when you watch his tape. Now, nothing really flashes off the board here is flashiness when you watch his highlight tapes. But he, just like the two guys they signed, in Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts, he's just a downhill kind of thumper. My biggest thing where Drew Sanders had great awareness and great pursuit, his Trenton Simpson's not really more pursuit. He's just got an endless motor. Sometimes he flies by guys, sometimes he misses guys, but he just doesn't stop running. He's gonna keep chasing after you. He's gonna keep going after you. He's got a really high motor, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. He lines up a lot on these highlights on kind of the outside, which shows me he likes to rush the quarterback. But that's the thing is he likes to run downhill. There isn't a lot of pass defense highlights in this. All the linebackers we got kind of show that, so it kind of fits the bill there. You would like to see a linebacker who can maybe covers the pass a little bit more. Not to say that he technically couldn't with the speed that he potentially may have, but speaking of, and I'm gonna look this up in a sec, I noticed that Drew Sanders' combine profile did not have his 40 time on there, so I'll look that up in a bit. Trenton Simpson had 73 tackles last year, 41 solo, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 pass defenses. He was a starter last year, the year before that. Those tackles are way down compared to what Drew Sanders had in his first year as a starter. Makes me wonder, where he's playing at all times. Although Clemson is a little higher of a defense, they have more kind of players around everything. But he does play a lot of spots from the line, though, so maybe that's a part of it, potentially. Trenton Simpson, he is 6'2", 235, had a production score of 76, athleticism score of 86, total score of 81, third-ranked linebacker. He had a 40-yard dash time of 4.43. Boy's got the wheels, and it shows on his highlight tape. His NFL comparison is Darren Lee, rest in peace. Unless I am wrong, then that's his comparison of a live person, but I don't think that person is. Rest in peace. Kind of, like I said, he's, I think his biggest draw to him is his speed and his relentless physicality. He just constantly just runs full speed every play, regardless if he misses, he's going to turn around and chase you down from the back. So he sounds like a guy that Mike Tomlin likes, especially considering the linebackers they like. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after him, but to get a guy like this, you're looking at, he's not going to make it past 49. So if he's there at 49 and you want him, you got to pull the trigger there.
Yeah, I don't know if Darren Lee's dead. It looks like he's very much alive.
I think that I'm sorry, Darren Lee, to you and your family. I'm happy to see you alive.
Trent Simpson is an excellent football player. Yeah, I'm curious if the swapping around at the outside and the inside kind of, took away some of his stats or changed them up to where you kind of want them to be. But nonetheless, he is fast. He is very quick and a good tackler. So, 49 is definitely where I've seen him mocked a lot of times to us. So we'll just see where we're going. But yeah, I'd definitely say round 2 or 3 is Trent Simpson.
Drew Sanders' 40-yard time, by the way, is a 4.66. Not super amazingly fast, but it does make sense when you watch his tape. He is a guy that analyzes the field more, but I do think he has more burst than maybe this next guy I'm going to talk about. And the next guy I'm going to talk about is Steeler fan favorite, and hot take, me and Chris's not fan favorite, is Jack Campbell. Captain Jack, linebacker out of Iowa. Now, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with Captain Jack, man. He's a solid linebacker. Smart linebacker. Jack Campbell, he's also a giant linebacker. Jack Campbell is 6'5", 246 god dang pounds. All Midwestern corn and beef in that boy. 125 total tackles, 59 solo, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 2 picks, and 1 pass defense. He had 125 total tackles last year, 140 the year before that. This dude racks up the tackles. He is a traditional middle linebacker. I'm talking Brian Urlacher. I'm talking Ray Lewis even. I'm talking the Jack Lamberts and Jack Ham of old. I'm talking James Ferrier. He is a traditional middle linebacker. So you might be saying, then why, Dominic and Chris, don't you like Jack Campbell? Look at him pick off C.J. Stroud. How can you not like that? Of course he can cover the pass. I think he's too slow. That's my biggest gripe with Jack Campbell. But the thing is, though, is if he ends up a Steeler, we say it, we said it a billion times before, I'll still love the guy, and I'll cheer for him, and I hope he succeeds. I'm a little nervous, I guess. I'm a little worried that he's too slow. But he makes up for that in college with his play recognition and his awareness. Here he is getting a safety on Chris's alma mater. Hilarious. South Dakota State. That's his biggest draw, I think, is his football smarts, his awareness, and his play recognition. That is by far his biggest smarts. Also, it doesn't hurt that he's big. He's a big, big dude. Jack
Absolutely.
Campbell. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, absolutely. You can't deny his football IQ. It's remarkable what you see in his highlights right now. But, as even thinking, Leighton Vander Esch is, another great comparison. It's an old-school, hard-hitting football linebacker. He's just maybe a decade too late for what you need in talent, which is why Dom and I are not too high on Mr. Campbell.
Now, of course, like we say every year, the NFL draft and players, you never know, right? He could come on the scene and he could just be amazing. You never know. I don't think that he's going to be a bad by any means. I just don't know if he's going to be as amazing as what people think he could be. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. I think a lot of Steeler fans are absolutely in love with the idea of Jack Campbell. I just don't know if he's going to be as good as people think he's going to be, but I don't think he's going to be bad at all. I think he'll be a very serviceable linebacker in the NFL, and if he plays for the Steelers, I'll cheer my heart out for him. He had a 74 production score, 89 athleticism score, total scores in 82. That's number 1 ranked linebacker in the combine. Again, 6'5", 250. He ran a 4.65.01 faster than Drew Sanders, but his tape, it's acceleration, it's burst, it's different. His tape doesn't really show that to me, but what it is what it is. Jack Campbell, man. I think he's got the skills to be good, and I kind of the same thing with Trenton Simpson. You are not going to get Jack Campbell at pick 80. It has to be pick 49. I think he actually might go earlier. He might go between 32 and 49. And I don't think you're picking him at 32 unless the Steelers are in love with him, but they haven't met with him as much as you'd think. So,
yeah, and I I just got to say this for everyone listening too. It's so hard, and I come to the realization that like I feel like ever since we lost Shazier, we're just kind of looking for that next Shazier, and that's kind of what the league has developed into, right? You need a guy in that middle who can not only scan the field and play coverage well, but someone who is fast and effective and able to not only shoot the gaps but cover. I mean, we've had it so bad with like Robert Spillane and all those guys not being able to like cover the pass. And I don't know, it's just a new age of middle linebacker, which we just desperately need. And maybe I'm being a little too hard on these guys just because I'll forever want a guy like Ryan Shazier back on our team.
Now, to play devil's advocate to Jack Campbell and why you could be enticed to maybe want him, Chris, on the Steelers is something I just thought of right now, is because his playoff smarts is so high, because he's such a football guy and he knows the defenses and he can recognize offensive schemes. He's a guy that could potentially end up wearing the green dot and can be the leader and call audibles on a play. And that is a very good trait to have, especially on the Steelers when it seems like nobody wants to wear the green dot on the Steelers.
Yeah.
Not a single player wants to.
No.
So there's a possibility there for Jack Campbell. 49 was where you're going to want to pull the trigger, but 32, between 49, he could be gone by then. And then my last linebacker on the board is kind of potentially one of my favorite ones. Potentially. It's Daiyan Henley from Washington State.
It's Luke Kuechly.
From Washington State. Daiyan Henley. Let's talk about him. But with the video muted. Daiyan Henley.
There it is.
Had 106 total tackles last year, 54 solo, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 pick, 1 pass defense. 2021 had 94 total tackles. 2020 must have been splitting time, had 49 total tackles. Daiyan Henley is 6'2", 232 pounds. His production score was 73, athletics score 78, total score 77, makes him the 4th ranked linebacker. That's top to bottom, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just did on the combine profiles. 40-yard dash time, 4.54. Pretty solid speed. Definitely faster than Drew Sanders and Campbell. A little slower than Trenton Simpson. This play right there, Chris, was my favorite play. I want to back that up real quick. I want you to see how deep he goes for coverage here. And this play reminds me of Ryan Shazier when he used to pick off balls like that. Daiyan Henley, the thing I liked about him and why he might be one of my favorites is because I think the value of his pick, because I think you could get Daiyan Henley at pick 80. And I think he offers a lot of very similar traits to the guys I just covered. I think he's a downhill thumper. I think he has really good pursuit. He's got really good play action. He finds the holes just like the running back does. I think he has decent pass coverage skills like Drew Sanders does, according to like that pick. And there's other plays in here where he's not getting a pick per se, but he's able to watch the quarterback's eyes, and when the ball's thrown, he's right on the guy. He's right next to him. He's not letting them get super far down the field. He's right there. He's right in the line. He's thumping guys behind the line of scrimmage. He runs downhill, like I said. He sheds blocks pretty well. Not as well as maybe someone like Drew Sanders or even Trenton Simpson, but still pretty well to shedding blocks. Also, when you have guys like Cam Hayward in front of you, Larry Ogunjobi, TJ taking up some linemen, he can shed the running back who's there. I think he kind of is an all-around player too, like Drew Sanders, but maybe a little faster. And also, because this guy's not going to get picked as high as Drew Sanders, I think that's why he's kind of my low-key, one of my favorites, especially that's 4 I'm talking about right now, because I think you could get him at pick 80.
Very well could. Very well could. He's a phenomenal talent, and right away when you brought up the Ryan Shazier thing and that play, like almost the way that he runs too is very familiar to Ryan Shazier. And it's what you need, a guy who's not afraid to shoot the gaps and also be a reliable source on pass coverage. So who knows? Maybe you won't get the 3 or 4 picks in the season like Mr. Ryan had, but I think he is kind of a slept-on pick, definitely a guy that you could get and maybe a hidden gem in the draft. Who knows?
Yeah, I like him. Some of the weaknesses they talk about are it says below average instincts for play development. And I obviously the highlights only show the best plays, but I don't know, man. I think he can watch the quarterback. A lot of these plays, he just kind of has to rush the line, but I think he can watch the quarterback really well, and I don't think it's that bad. I think when they say below average instincts for play development, it's like on quarterback option plays, which happens a lot in college, and that is one of his weaknesses they talk about to diagnose a zone read play. But you can't do it all. If we're pick 80, it's kind of
absolutely not.
It is what it is. That is what it is. But that is Dan Henley, a potential pick at pick 80, in my opinion.
I love it.
All right, Chris, shoot through your guys. Who do you want to do first?
Okay, let's go with Dorian Williams.
I'm going to go backwards.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
I kind of want to. I would kind of want to save my favorite for last. My favorites, I should say.
Okay. Let me get Dorian out. All right, here we go.
So yeah, Mr. Dorian Williams, linebacker out of Tulane, standing at 6'1", 228 pounds. Dorian Williams is a really good linebacker who I feel like could also be a sleeper pick in this draft. He shows some really good talent, not only in the passing game, but also being able to stop runs and push over blockers just like he did there to make the play. He's an aggressive, hard-hitting dude who just really likes to play the game and is really aggressive. His strengths going into it, I mean, he gets into blockers with a proper knee bend, and he's able to wrap up tacklers really well. So he's kind of a for sure tackler, which is really nice. Not someone just that lowers the shoulder and tries to hit and pop these guys with all that they got. And he's really fluid in zone coverage with man cover talent. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with him being the linebacker who can really get those open field tackles and really close in on a guy, but as well as make some plays in coverage, which is something that the Steelers just really haven't had ever. Well, I shouldn't say ever. Lately. Sorry, I just feel bitter with the last few years we've had with middle linebacker play. Anyway, his combine results, it's pretty good. I'd say he's pretty quick. He ran a 4.49 with a 33.5-inch vertical and a 10-foot broad jump. 65 production score, 81 athleticism score with a total score of 74, which is 8th among all linebackers. He was kind of a ball magnet. He was all around the field last year. He totaled up 132 total tackles, with 8.5 of those tackles being for loss and 5 sacks. And he also had 2 picks on the year. So, and 7 pass deflections. So when I say this guy can cover, he can cover. He's all around. He likes to be involved in the play. And he was a team captain, I believe, for team captain and a 3-year starter at Tulane. So definitely be on the lookout for this guy in the draft. I do think of him as kind of a later round draft pick. Probably looking at around that, I don't know, 80, 120 even range. But Dorian Williams, a name to be looked at, I guess. Dom, what are your thoughts?
His speed is really nice, and I think he does run with some good thumping downhill to him. His weaknesses, honestly, you kind of remind me of Devin Bush in the sense of he can't really, it doesn't always find the running lane, or Maybe he gets held up by blocks and stuff. I actually think this is a 120 or later, and I know we don't have a pick later until the 7th round, but you never know. The Steelers could end up trading back, acquire some more picks in the 5th and 6th round, and I think you're looking at like a 4 to 6 for this kind of guy. This sure. Dorian Williams is straight up another body linebacker. If we draft Dorian Williams, we don't draft another linebacker. He's not overtaking Cole Holcomb or Landon Roberts, in my opinion. He's another body to sub out. And that's not a bad thing, but that's just, especially because the Steelers have 3 middle linebackers, so they need some more. They definitely need some more bodies. But that's the kind of player you're looking at there when you get a guy like that.
Absolutely. Let's move on to DeMarvin Overshown.
DeMarvin Overshown.
DeMarvin Overshown. DeMarvin Overshown.
Okay. DeMarvin Overshown. DeMarvian? I don't know.
Sorry, DeMarvin, whatever. We have DeMarvin. Maybe he'll get along with Leal. But anyway, DeMarvin Overshown, Texas linebacker. He is a big dude. He stands 6'3", 229 pounds. So definitely a guy that you'll recognize on the field almost immediately. He is a former safety turned into a linebacker. So he's definitely had to take leaps and strides going into this position. And he's gotten both play time playing on the inside and the outside. So he's definitely seen his fair share of plays all around the field. So he brings a lot of versatility to the game. From what I understand, he has made a lot of strides at the position from 2021 season to 2022. And he's even taking a lot, getting a lot more stronger at recognizing plays on the field and then being able to shed blocking and get that open field tackle, which is really nice. He's an athletic blitzer, and he hustles downhill. He has a high motor, and he's just very energetic. The thing that kind of concerns me about him is that with that, positional change, he's still learning. He's still trying to figure out what it takes to be a linebacker. And another thing is it sounds like he never really got settled down at one position. Like I said, they had him at safety and then going to inside and outside linebacker. That's a lot of change to have, especially in the college world. But hey, he must be doing something right if he's, declaring for the draft and might actually be a middle of the draft prospect too. So definitely a guy to look out for, especially with his frame and stature. He ran a 4.56 40-yard dash. His production score was a 70. Athleticism score was a 72. And his total score was a 73, which ranked 9th among all linebackers. And even looking at his stats last year, he did make improvements from the year before to where he is now. He had 96 total tackles, 10 of those accounting for tackles for loss and 4 sacks. And he even, contributed to the pass game, having 5 pass deflections. So I keep on saying Leal, but DeMarvin Overshown, definitely played a role in this Texas defense. Texas kind of came out of nowhere, I feel like, this last year and was a team to be reckoned with. So, and I think he was a big driving force on that defense and kind of led them to some big victories like over Alabama. And I'm trying to think of another, but that's honestly the biggest one that comes to my mind. So kind of just looking ahead at him, I think he's a very good player, someone to look at, but definitely a player to acquire in the later parts of this draft. Definitely at that 120 mark, If not, maybe trading back and getting somewhere in that like 5th or 6th round if we were to do that. But that's kind of my thoughts on DeMarvin. Dom, what are you thinking?
I don't know, man. I don't necessarily agree with you completely on that. I'm really liking this dude's tape. To be real honest with you.
Sure.
Even though you say he's kind of raw, he's moving positions around, I can see that safety in him, and I almost feel like that helps a lot, actually. His pass coverage looked really great. I think he had good speed. I think he ran with aggressiveness. And, being raw doesn't necessarily mean the worst thing. I kind of, just like we said with Dorian Williams, I don't think he would start right away. But he's someone I think who could grow quickly and could be a starter after or years to come. I think he could go at pick 80. But if he's there at 120 and you haven't taken a linebacker yet, I'd say take him. I think it's a steal.
Absolutely. And I mean, like I said, when he made the transition, I mean, he played his first 2 years as a defensive back, and then in his junior year, he became a linebacker. And every year, there's always that improvement. He had 60 tackles, 74, and then 96 to end it, with tackles for loss and sacks all improving. So, I mean, he's definitely taking leaps and bounds into, like, improving. But it's just, I think that's my only area of concern is, like, if we get him, we definitely need him in the inside. How was his production solely at the inside linebacker role?
Right, but with not as many years and also getting coached in the NFL, how quickly could that improve? Especially if he's improving already year to year to college. But it could be 80, but I think at 120, that's a steal.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. We got Noah Sewell out of Oregon.
Noah Sewell. Noah Sewell. Here it is. Here he is. Here he is. Bam.
So yeah, Noah Sewell is a linebacker out of the University of Oregon. He stands at 6'1.5" at 246 pounds. So he's kind of a beefy dude. I was very impressed with this tape, and honestly, to me, he just kind of seemed like a guy who could close gaps really quickly and just like really get involved in the play fast. Whenever he did get the ball in his hand, like this play, he always tried to make the most out of it. But he's quick, which is kind of surprising looking at his 40 time because he ran a 4.64, which isn't slow by any means. Obviously, we have guys like Sanders and Campbell, like we talked about, but he just looks like he has a lot more agility in these highlights than those two guys did, in my opinion. So Noah Sewell is a really good what? Sorry, I missed it. What was it?
I can't tell if it bounced off a player's head and it went into his lap for a pick. I think it did. It's hard to tell on this. It's kind of laggy. Yeah, totally. It's totally bounced off a player's head. Yeah, anyways.
Oh, wow.
Continue.
Anyway, Noah Sewell is a 3-year starter, so he has a lot of time spent at the linebacker position, and a lot of his strengths are just talking about his size and strength in general. Being able to shed blockers and just kind of lead his aggression between tackles and just kind of be more of a consistency with his tackling game. I love his ability to wrap up on guys and just bring them down. And he really gets involved in the play too. I looking at his stats, I mean, he didn't have anything that blew up. And I don't know if there's a positional change or what it was, because from 2021, when he had 114 tackles, last year he had just 56 with 5.5 tackles for loss and an interception. So there's obviously that, decrease in productivity. some of his faults really lack in his instincts and awareness, which obviously can bite you, especially when you're looking at being in pass coverage. So, that's kind of a tough thing for me. But as far as like a downhill linebacker, just kind of getting into those tackles and shooting gaps, I think he does an exceptional job with it. He's a little poor in his reactive abilities, and like here they say even he has little range when tasked with coverage. So obviously that's a bit of concern. And I stated it before. I get PTSD when thinking about guys like Spillane or heck, even Devin Bush the last few years with their coverage, because it was just so bad. And we rely so much on our linebackers to like pick up those guys. So if we're going for a guy who needs to cover, Noah might not be that dude, but at the same time, I think he is a really, really good linebacker. And heck, he even good depth and someone to learn behind Landon Roberts and even Cole Holcomb, and see if maybe he can, get some time in there and improve on his abilities. He ran a 4.64, like I said, a 33-inch vert. His production score is a 67, athleticism score 75, and a 72 for total score, ranking him 10th among all linebackers. So, Dom, what are your thoughts on Noah?
He according to the highlight tape, I mean, he's definitely disruptive. He likes to get his nose in there and cause a ruckus, and can kind of is all over the field to a certain degree. I do think he is a touch slow. A lot of these highlights, I don't know if they're from last year or not. When you talked about potentially him not having a lot of tackles, it kind of makes sense if these highlights are from last year, because not that he was doing bad, but he just seemed like he was just a step late to a lot of different tackles, especially sacks on the quarterback.
Sure.
Would just be there, but enough to disrupt the pass, which is great. He just seems just a little too slow, personally, and that tracks with kind of what we said earlier. I think pick 80 or 120. I think that's kind of where he falls there.
I agree. I think he's definitely going to be that mid to late round guys. So, yeah, but that's Noah. And then last but not least, we have my other favorite linebacker in the draft, Mr. Ivan Pace Jr. out of the University of Cincinnati. Now, this is a guy who I found immediately and was just very impressed with his gameplay. He is a force to be reckoned with. He loves to make the big splash plays, the big hits, and gosh, he just closes in on the ball so fast. Honestly, when I was looking up his 40 time, because he didn't participate in the combine, I was a little surprised because he just looks really quick, and I thought it would maybe be up with that, like, Trenton Simpson kind of time frame, and he's not far off. He ran a 4.5 at his pro day flat, so obviously a pretty quick talent, but Ivan Pace is just a dog, realistically. And I mean, listen to these stats right here. Just last year, he had 136 total tackles, so he was flying all over the place. His tackles for loss, Dom, 20.5 tackles for loss. That doesn't happen.
Damn.
That's insane numbers. Yeah. And I think out of total tackles for loss among all college football, he ranked second. So obviously he's putting up big numbers. He had 9 sacks all last year, too, which is just unbelievable. And I mean, even in the pass coverage, he was able to get there and have 4 pass deflections too. Nothing on the picks, but I gotta give this guy some props. I feel like his biggest downfall is probably his size. He is 5'10.5", so a little on the shorter side, but he stocks it well, being 200 and yeah, definitely. Which is kind of funny because I was looking at his NFL prospect chart here where it says 5'10.5", but then in his stats page here, it says 6 feet. So someone might be tampering a little bit, giving him those extra 2 inches. But can't we all use an extra 2 inch? Exactly. I also got to give him props too, because the last year was actually his first year playing with Cincinnati. He was a transfer from Miami. So he played his first 3 years with Miami, and then he transferred, and then he played with Cincinnati, where he absolutely took off. And he wasn't a slouch with Miami either. The year before that, he had 125 total tackles, and 13 tackles for loss. So it's like, to improve from that kind of a season 2 to this is just unbelievable. Like I said, he had that 4.5 40 time. His production score was a 77. His athleticism score was a 67, and his total score was a 74, which is 7th among all linebackers. In 2 seasons, 262 total tackles, which is nuts, and 34.5 for loss. Unreal. He can bounce his eyes between routes and quarterbacks and coverage. He possesses a lot of heart, and he just has a high motor and a lot of energy, and he just brings it with every single down that he plays. And he just, lays the boom. Realistically, his only weaknesses that they have on here is a lot to do with his size, just lacking length, and, they're scared about his overall strength just with like the size of other guys. But heck, I know they don't show it in his highlights, but even when he played in the Senior Bowl, he had one of the most iconic tackles this last year, as he just like popped a dude and just laid him down on the ground. So to me, Ivan Pace is a favorite of mine. I honestly am going to consider him my hidden gem of the draft. I think any team that gets Ivan Pace Jr. is going to be very happy with him. And realistically, even though he's projected at about that 80 to, maybe a little later, I would not be upset if we got him even a little earlier than that. But if we got him at 80, I'd be stoked. That'd be hands down my favorite pick when it comes to value, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like I'm just hyping him up big time. Dom, what are your thoughts on Ivan?
Yeah, I agree. I think you are hyping him up big time. I don't think he's bad though. I really like his energy. He's like Jalen Warren, but as a linebacker. He's like you said, with a lot of heart. He's short, but he's fast. He's everywhere. He's behind the line. He's covering passes. He's all over the place. He's just a little rabid Tasmanian devil, and I like the energy. I like that kind of passion to play the game. I think he is perfect at 80, and I think in the same way we talked about DeMarvin Overshown, I think if he's there at 120, that is a steal. That's what I think the steal would be, for sure. Especially if a lot of teams, and I think he could last to 120, especially because I think a lot of teams are going to be really afraid of his height. I mean, all the linebackers we looked at, the shortest one was like 6'2". That is that's a 4-inch difference. That's a large difference.
Hey, like maybe it was like the doctor's office he happened to go into that day, like, or maybe he's like, slouching a little bit.
That doesn't really scare me though, especially if it's like around pick 120 anyways, because I do think he has the heart for it. But yeah, definitely really good energy and someone that they could look at. And you never know, if the Steelers trade back and they acquire more picks in the second, in the third, or whatever, you could find him around even at an earlier spot than 80, like around like 60 or something. You can find him around there. So the great job, Chris. We got through all 8 linebackers in quick succession, quick fashion. Love to see it. Next week, we're going to be doing another highly regarded pick for the Steelers, which is a defensive tackle. Who's the starting defensive tackle right now, Chris? Go. 5, 4, 3,
Cam Hayward?
2, 1. No.
Wait, what?
I mean, it's technically D end, right? Unless you count him D tackle, but someone to play more in the middle.
Are you talking
'Cause
about
you'd have
Larry Ogunjobi?
he's D end too.
What the fuck?
So there's D tackle. That'd be where
Are you-
Alu played. Nobody.
Yep. Montravius Adams.
Montravius Adams or Armon Watts we just picked up. That's our options right now. So D
Montravius.
tackle. Good position to look at. Good position in need, I think. Will they do it? We'll see. But there's some guys we could look at. Some second to third round guys, maybe even four round guys that we'll take a look at next week. We'll just stick to 6. We don't need to go crazy. But thank you for listening to the Northern Steel podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Club Penguin, on RuneScape, on the PlayStation Store. Chris, you got any words? Any words? Any words?
Oh, actually, yeah, I do.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a guess?
What's up? Say it again.
Do you have a guess?
What's up? What's up?
What I'm gonna say is draft Ivan Pace.
Oh, wow.
Go Steelers!
That definitely clipped for sure. But thank you, Go Steelers. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.